Just tell me.
And marker.
Ready to go? Back in the Force, we used to use... Fuck. Wait, is there... Wait,
I'm
can
personally
we
victimized.
do that?
Just go, we'll cut
I feel like me looking up there is very obviously not at the camera. Okay, whatever.
It's close enough.
How long of a video can it take?
I don't know.
We're not gonna run out of space.
Alright.
It's like very small.
I hope not.
Okay.
Alright, ready? Start. Back in the Force, we used to practice putting out fires all the time. We'd trudge on down to the firefighting practice pits, set some fuels ablaze, and practice squelching them with a good dose of AFFF, or aqueous film forming foam. The stuff smelled a bit chemically, but we never thought much of it.
Although it's relatively new in the world of hazardous compounds, Pfos, or perfluorooctanosulfonic acids, have been around for quite a while. Originally, quite on purpose.
PFAS are great. Since polytetrafluoroethylene, PTFE, was invented in the 30s, things have only gotten better. Those babies are great for non-stick coatings and are superb for waterproofing fabrics and papers. PFAS are almost even better. When they initially produced those bad boys in the 40s, stains and water-resistant products were enhanced immensely.
I agree. In the 1960s, they started using PFOS and firefighting foam because of its excellent properties. Aqueous film-forming foam, fluoroprotein, and film-forming fluoroprotein foam can be stored for use in suppressing fires and flammable vapors. We have that magical stuff in hundreds of military installations and civilian airports throughout the country.
And how exactly do you use these foams? Where does it go?
Well, we test apparatus and discharge a little here, a little there. Sometimes we discharge large amounts of foams for firefighting or fire suppression, or just as practice for the heck of it. Oftentimes, we spat out thousands of gallons of the stuff all at once.
Exactly. The PFOS foam concentrate is aerated and sprayed onto the ground, where it reverts to a solution and ends up impacting soils, running off to surface waters and sewers, and infiltrating into groundwater. Not to mention the storage tanks themselves can leak quite a bit. That's why in 2001, long-chain ECF-based foams were discontinued. Just too much risk. Long-chain sulfonic PFOS species readily partition in organic matter and soil, so they can get into our food systems like that.
Oh my god.
And short-chain carboxylate PFOS species aren't any better. They partition in water more readily, so they can make our water risky to drink.
What kind of risk you talking about? What's so bad about PFAS?
I'm glad you asked. According to the United States Environmental Protection Agency, PFAS led to some pretty nasty outcomes in humans. Like heavy metals, PFAS tend to bioaccumulate. When they are ingested by animals or humans, they are absorbed and leave for long periods of times. If the levels of PFAS in the body get too high, these concentrations can cause reproductive and developmental liver. I'm just going to restart this line.
Stop it.
Wait, stop it. We'll restart.
The whole thing?
No, we'll just put them together.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just stop it.
Why can't we just like cut it out?
Okay.
And then...
No, we can just cut it.
Yeah,
back
just cut it. I don't want to get up.
I'm glad you asked. According to
Stop. I want this to be over. I want this to be over. I'm so sweaty.
Alright, just give me a second. I'm glad you asked.
You okay?
Yeah. I'm glad you asked. According to the United States Environmental Protection Agency, PFAS led to some pretty nasty outcomes in humans. Like heavy metals, PFAS tend to bioaccumulate. When they are ingested by animals or humans, they are absorbed and don't leave for long periods of time. If the levels of PFAS in the body get too high, these concentrations can cause reproductive and developmental, liver and kidney, and immunological effects. Studies have shown that PFAS and PFOS have caused tumors in animals, and findings consistently show that cholesterol levels increase among exposed populations.
That is some pretty spooky stuff. But why should people be afraid of some chemicals that were used a long time ago in firefighting foam and waterproofing for commercial products?
I think I can answer that one. PFAS have been used in a whole bunch of products actually. From paper and packaging to clothing and carpets, textiles and sporting equipment, non-stick cookware, cleaning agents, fabric softeners, polishes and waxes, pesticides and herbicides. Hydraulic fluids, paints, varnishes, medical products, adhesive dyes, waxes, and yes, even personal care products such as shampoo, toothpaste, and sunscreen all used to be made with PFAS.
Exactly. It wasn't until the 1970s that PFAS were found in the blood of occupationally exposed workers. In the 90s, this was reported in the general human population, which increased awareness of the chemicals in the environment and in the scope of human health. Although in use for decades, PFAS were not documented in environmental samples until the early 2000s. At that point, they started popping up in sediments, servicing groundwater, wildlife, and human blood. They were even appearing well beyond the areas where they were used or manufactured. In 2016, the US EPA issued a lifetime health advisory for the two most...
Advisory! Jesus!
Go on. I have such long paragraphs.
You chose this one.
You could have chosen manufacturing.
I'm just going to start from in 2016. In 2016, the US EPA issued a lifetime health advisory.
Come on, let's wait, Gucci.
Okay.
I'm in so much pain.
What are you doing?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. In 2016... I can't do this. In 2016, the... Stop.
I'm just thinking, I'm just thinking about how hilarious it's gonna look when it's like, hey, we're using a paper copy on there, so we're using manufactured. In 2016, like,
I know, it's gonna go like a jump cut.
okay, whatever. We're not videography majors. For a reason.
In 2016...
Oh my god!
Stop!
It's just the way you said it. It's so
Alright, no, it's so hot.
Okay.
It's on, it's like almost fucking 9 o'clock. Okay.
In 2016, the US EPA issued... Can you give me some water or something? I need to pull it together.
Just breathe.
Just drink some wine.
Just count to 3.
Yeah, let's all get trashed and do this.
In 2016, the US EPA issued a lifetime...
Oh my god!
Why can't I do this? Why can't I do
You're
this?
thinking
Can we
too
just
much.
cut out that line?
Too much.
Actually, yeah, we don't need that line.
No, that's actually
That
pretty
is important, yeah.
In 2016, the US EPA issued a lifetime health advisory for the two most widely detected PFAS, PFOA and PFOS. This limit was set at 70 nanograms per liter and applies.
Why are you so close?
Here, I'll say the line. We'll just get your line. That's wild. Did you know that in 2016, the US EPA issued a lifetime health advisory for the two most widely detected PFAS, PFOA and PFOS? This limit was set to 70 nanograms per liter and applies to drinking water.
Now what? Do you want me to say? I'll say the line.
No. You say that 2016.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you know in 2016 the US EPA issued a lifetime health advisory for the two most widely detected PFAS, PFOA and PFOS? This limit was set to 70 nanograms per liter and applies to drinking water.
Well, golly, gosh darn. That sure is scary stuff. I never really got the whole deal with PFAS. I recently learned that PFOA and PFOS are just chains of 8 carbons where the hydrogen's swapped out for fluorines and they're completely saturated with those guys. Perfluoroctane... Fuck. Restart. Well, golly gosh. That sure is some scary stuff. I never really got the whole deal with PFAS. I only recently learned that PFOA and PFOS are just chains of 8 carbons that are swapped out hydrogens and then have fluorines instead.
Why don't you just read
The script is that's very not clear. I wrote that before I really thought about what it was saying. Anyway, well, gosh, golly gee, that sure is some scary stuff. I never really got the whole deal with PFAS. I recently learned that PFOA and PFOS are just chains of 8 carbons, wherein the hydrogens are replaced with fluorines. So it's not a hydrocarbon; it's a fluorinated hydrocarbon then, and some other atoms are added as well. Perfluoroctane. Fuck that word.
Perfluorooctane
I would just
sulfate.
start from that word.
Yeah.
Perfluorooctane sulfate, or Pfos, for example, has the chemical formula C8. Oh. I can't wait to be done.
We're almost there.
I gotta
Come
get the
on.
giggles out. What the fuck? Okay. Perfluorooctane sulfate. Ah! Okay. Perfluorooctane sulfonate, or Pfos, for example, has the chemical formula C8.
It's
Saying 8 and then H right out
C8.
together is so much harder than it should be. Alright. Perfluorooctane sulfonate, or Pfos, for example, has a chemical formula C8H17O3S. And perfluorooctanoic acid, or PFOA, has a formula C8H15O2. Crazy part of it is, this stuff comes in your body and it lingers around for a while. The half-life for these chemicals is crazy in humans. It's about 5.4 years for Pfos, and 3.8 for PFOA. It's pretty wild stuff.
Well, okay. I think I can get what PFOS are and how they appear in man-made products. I'm starting to understand that PFOS are a really diverse group of chemicals that are a combination of hydrophobic alkylated chain that is saturated with fluorine atoms. When attached to a hydrophilic head, yields both lipid and water-repellent properties, such as one you would find in a surfactant.
That's true. That's why they're so commercially applicable to all sorts of things. Not to mention wastewater. A recent study showed that effluent from wastewater treatment plants can be a huge source of emissions of these xenobiotic substances, such as PFAS, and lead to a discharge into waterways that we know and love. PFOA and PFOS are persistent in the environment because there's really no known process of biodegradation because they're new to the world. They're new to nature. Nothing eats them. They're toxic and they bioaccumulate in ways that can affect you and me. And in wastewater, concentrations of 340 nanograms per liter for PFOS and 220 nanograms per liter for PFOA have been observed. That's well above that standard we mentioned. Scary stuff.
That's exactly right. I think we all learned a little bit of PFAS. And if you want to learn more about PFAS affects you, go to www.ep. Alright, I said it.
Said no.
If you want to learn more about PFAS affects you. Wait. After this line, let's play for more information. And then we'll go, PFAS, cut it out. Together.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly right. And I think we all learned a little bit about PFAS. And if you want to learn more about how PFAS affects you, go to www.epa.gov/PFAS for more information.
PFAS, cut it out. Oh, it's so fucking painful.